Welcome into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is the Tulane Green Wave, Wade Neely. We will be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports content. And I imagine Tulane's name might come up at some point over the course of the next couple of hours. Wade, happy Friday. How are you? Uh-oh. Can't hear you, Wade.
How about now, boys and
How
girls?
about yes, much better.
Good to see you. Good to be with everybody today. You are right. It is a feel-good Friday. Excited for the next couple hours. Excited for the weekend. Just excited in general as we get ready to spin this thing up.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun Saturday. Conference championships across the board. We'll be talking with Michael Felder from Learfield Sports in the second hour, kind of catching up on some college football stuff, both on and off the field, I'm sure. Always a good get when we can get Felder on for a little bit. So looking forward to that. In the next segment, we'll be joined by David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner. The Titans go looking for their second win of the season. And, you know, on paper, it would look like they would have a pretty good shot at it against the 3-9 host Cleveland Browns. But I don't feel great about this. Maybe David will give us some reason to do so. Speaking of Feel Good Friday. So looking forward to talking to David BOCLAIR in the second segment as we talk Titans. We'll also be talking some other NFL action, both that which has taken place and that which is to come here as the weekend progresses. We'll talk a little PREDS. Speaking of excitement, a little NBA as well. The hot stove is starting to heat up. A couple of free agency signings here recently as the winter meetings get set to get started early next week. So a lot going on in sports. Oh, and yes, we will be closing out the show with the Wonder Slate again. College Football Conference Championship Saturday or Friday. A lot of games to consider for that as Wade and I get ready to give you our 10 weekend winners in the final segment of the show. So stick around for that. Plenty to get to, plenty to tap into, as Wade likes to say. So it's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, you said it. And, the party kicks off now, but really gets going. All four of the championship games tonight will be played on campus sites. We got 5 good ones tomorrow as well, a few neutral site games. But, a little to be decided, a little to be perhaps underwhelmed. Some of these, I don't know about you, Mo, but I've never been as least excited, if I can invent that turn of phrase there, about a number 1 versus number 2 team in the country matchup in my entire life. Not much juice for one game in particular, but for a few teams in particular, everything is hanging in the balance here.
Absolutely. I think I know which one you're referring to. And you know, it kind of feels like one of these things is not like the other. I'm sure, again, we'll be talking to Michael Felder about that one and a few others later in the show. But it's a little underwhelming that one game in particular in that big conference. So we'll get Felder's thoughts on that. But yeah, you can kind of tell where we're at on that one. I'll be interested to know what that number is when we get to the Wonder Slate for that one as well. So, a lot to get into. Let's go ahead and get into it with yesterday's results and this weekend schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Let's start the party in earnest, folks, with your rundown on this good-looking Friday, which means we give you some Thursday results. A couple gridiron scores to update you guys on. First, Baylor defeating Brentwood Academy last night. 28-24 was your final from Chattanooga. BGA roughing up Franklin Road Academy 61-27. Nashville Christian, similar thought process there as they wallop USJ 59-7. Girls basketball scores last night. It was BGA knocking off Cheatham County 54-43. First loss of the season for the Lady Cubs there. Beach with a 47-33 win over Clarksville. CPA taking care of Lawson 58-18. Creekwood topping Rossview last night 56-22. East Hickman cruising over Fairview 50-29. East Nashville 58. Laverne 38. It was Hendersonville 71-19 over Hunters Lane. Davidson Academy with a 10-point victory, 53-43 over Merrill Hyde. Ezel Harding 67, Stratford 17. Capping your girls' scores last night, John Overton cruising versus Whites Creek 56-33.
In boys hoops on Thursday night, it was Battleground Academy completing the sweep against Cheatham County, 89-43. Beach with a 57-40 win over Clarksville. Rossview defeated Creekwood by a couple of dozen, 72-48 the final there. East Nashville edging Laverne 56-55. Sounds like a good one. Westmoreland 82, Franklin Classical 44. Hendersonville Downs Hunters Lane 70-33. Kirkwood with a 75-47 win over Bay of Arkansas. Didn't know there were any Bays in Arkansas, but I digress. Davidson Academy 64, Merrill Hyde 59, and Smyrna with a 80. My screen needs cleaning. 80-63 win over Oakwood Academy out of Alabama. Women's basketball action. UT Martin comes to the Allen Arena, picks up a 63-60 win over the host Lady Bisons. In NHL action, we'll be talking more about this one later in the show. The Preds go on the road and knock off the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers 2-1 in overtime there. Again, more later. Also more later on Detroit in Thursday Night Football, besting Dallas by a pair of touchdowns, 44-30.
Roll into the schedule. Roll into Page versus Sevier County on the gridiron in a rematch of the 5A title game from a year ago. These two will get it on yet again this evening at 7 p.m. Now we turn our sights back to basketball, and we got high school doubleheaders cranking up at 6 o'clock. Unless we tell you otherwise. East Hickman's going to be on the road tonight at Battle Creek. Look for Blackman on the road at Brentwood this evening. Franklin will travel to Cane Ridge. Ezel Harding is on the road at Clarksville Academy. Look for Friendship Christian at Clay County. Culleoka visiting Collinwood this evening. Forest will be at Eagleville. Columbia Academy is at Franklin Road Academy. You can look for Lawson, who's on the road tonight, traveling to Fairview. Joe Burns will make a trip over to Greenbrier. Franklin Classical is at Hampshire. Waverly is visiting Houston County. Columbia taking the trip down to Lawrence County this evening. Upperman is at Lebanon. Rockvale is visiting Lipscomb Academy. STEM Academy will be at Maplewood. Grace Christian out of Franklin will meet Middle Tennessee Christian tonight. Liberty Creek is on the road at Mount Juliet. Cornersville is visiting Mount Pleasant. Stewart's Creek is on the road at Nolansville. Pickett County will invade Murfreesboro, taking on the Oakland Patriots tonight. Gallatin is at Portland. Zion Christian will be at Providence Christian this evening, and Ravenwood will play host to Hickman County.
Also at 6 o'clock tonight, Huntland will be at Santa Fe for a doubleheader, and between games, they will be retiring the number 13 worn by the number 3 scorer in Tennessee high school basketball history, Alden Slaughter. So make your way out to Santa Fe for that celebration there. Also, Centennial is at Shelbyville in a 6 o'clock doubleheader. Warren County goes to Siegel. Smyrna is hosting Murfreesboro Central. Back-to-back for Smyrna tonight. Marshall County is at Spring Hill. Clarksville goes to Springfield. Station Camp hosts Hendersonville. Summit is hosting Green Hill. Station Camp goes to Sycamore. Station Camp and Davidson Academy are both at Sycamore at 6. That's going to be interesting. Check your local listings there. Cleveland is at Valor Collegiate. Gordonsville goes to Watertown. Summertown is at Wayne County. The Eagles hoping they can hit another 15 threes like they did against the Wildcats about a week and a half ago. East Robertson is at White House Heritage, and Antioch goes to Central for a 6 o'clock doubleheader. These are girls standalone games. At 4 o'clock, a rematch of last night's Blue Cross Bowl State Championship as Baylor goes to Brentwood Academy. Pleasant View Christian is at the Tennessee Heat at 5. Harpeth Hall travels to University School of Nashville at 5:30. At 5:45, Loretto plays Huntingdon over in Jackson. Stratford is at Martin Luther King at 6. Nashville Christian is at Richland at 6. Also at 6, Ensworth is at West Creek. Kip Nashville is at Whites Creek. Harpeth goes to Father Ryan, and Clarksville Christian plays Whitehaven at 7. In boys-only games, White House is at Merrill Hyde at 6. University School of Nashville is at Mount Juliet Christian at 7. Chattanooga Prep travels to Pope John Paul II at 7:30, and we don't have a time, but Christian Brothers out of Memphis and Rossview are playing. We also don't have a site. At 7 o'clock at the FedEx Forum, it'll be the Chris Paul-less Los Angeles Clippers at the Memphis Grizzlies. You can see that one on FanDuel Sports.
Wake up early tomorrow because we got high school football beginning at 11 a.m. in the 4A title bout. You can see Pearl Cone versus Alcoa.
Hey, Wade.
Yes, sir.
Those times are Eastern.
There we go. Even 1 hour early. Set your clocks, an hour ahead, and check out Pearl Cone and Alcoa at 10 a.m. You can also see Ravenwood and Oakland at 6 p.m. High school basketball double headers beginning at 4 o'clock tomorrow include University School of Nashville, who's at Grace Christian Franklin. 6 p.m. showdowns. Conventional start times for Columbia Academy at Mars Hill Bible. That's out of Alabama. Kirkwood will be on the road at Brentwood Academy, and Dixon County will travel to Columbia. Girls basketball action on Saturday. Earl, my name is Earl, out of Arkansas, is going to meet Clarksville Christian at 12:45. Silverdale Academy will visit Clarksville Academy at 2. Also at 2, Cleveland will visit Innsworth. Loretto will meet Greenfield in what should be a fun matchup there. Lawson is on the road at Pope John Paul II, and a 3 p.m. start time to cap girls action on Saturday, Centennial at St. Cecilia Academy. Boys basketball standalone games on Saturday afternoon. They crank up at 2:30 as the Middle Tennessee Christian bunch will meet Chattanooga Christian. 3:30, we'll see Hamilton Heights at Clarksville Academy. 7:30, Cleveland is visiting Maplewood, and we don't have a start time listed, but check your local listings on Saturday for North Little Rock Christian, who will meet Rossview.
In women's basketball action on Saturday, Princeton comes to town, taking on host Belmont over at the Curb Center. It's a 1 o'clock tip. You can see it on ESPN Plus. An hour later at 2 o'clock, Murray State will face Austin Peay's women, also on ESPN Plus. At 7 tomorrow night, this one's on ESPN. A whole lot of orange at Food City Center at Thompson Bowling Arena as Illinois comes to town, taking on the Volunteers. Again, that's a 7 o'clock start. You can see it on ESPN. At 6 on FanDuel, the Nashville Predators continue their road trip over at Carolina, taking on the Hurricanes. Sunday, women's basketball action. It's a 1 o'clock tip when Memphis comes to the Glass House, taking on the Lady Raiders. You can see that one on ESPN Plus. Also at 1, also on ESPN Plus, Tennessee State goes crosstown, taking on the Lady Bisons at Lipscomb. Men's basketball on Sunday. Austin Peay goes to UT RGV. That's UT Rio Grande Valley. That's a 1 o'clock start, also on ESPN Plus, it's on ESPN Plus. It's a 3 o'clock start, Belmont at MTSU. And it's not 3 o'clock, it's 3:30. Misread that, sorry. At 4 o'clock on ESPN Plus, Alabama A&M goes to Lipscomb. Got a doubleheader Sunday at Lipscomb, excuse me. NBA action Sunday. The Trailblazers come to Memphis. That's a 5 o'clock tip. It's on FanDuel. And in the NFL, as we mentioned, and we'll mention again, the Titans are at Cleveland. That is a 12 o'clock kickoff. You can see it on Fox. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Our top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options, available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And as we mentioned during the rundown and over the course of yesterday's show as well, we've got 4 now state championship games in the books from the Blue Cross Bowl down in Chattanooga, and 3 of them have been lopsided, to say the absolute least. Battleground Academy with a 61-27 win over Franklin Road Academy in the D2 AA championship game yesterday right out of the box, followed by Nashville Christian's 59-7 win over University School of Jackson in D2A. Finally had a game last night as Baylor defeated Brentwood Academy 28-24 for the D2 AAA championship title. And then earlier today, it was Westview out of Martin defeating Gatlinburg Pittman 62-21. And we've seen some stellar performances out of the lopsided wins, which is a good thing. Caden Marable, the quarterback for Battleground Academy, 461 total yards, 384 passing, 77 rushing, 7 total touchdowns he accounted for. BGA also got a couple of defensive touchdowns in that win to get things started yesterday morning. Man, that one got out of hand really quick, especially when you consider Franklin Road Academy won that matchup 21-14 in late September.
Talk about returning the favor, right? You can't always predict. Through the course of the season, you're hoping, that you get some compelling championship theater. I mean, this is the seminal moment, it's what we're building towards, but it doesn't always pan out that way. And, for a while, it seemed as if, Mo, the quarterbacks at the D2 ranks, were kind of just taking turns. Saw Caden Marable put on quite the show. He's obviously going to go do some great things. Saw Jared Curtis, pedestrian numbers by what is capable of, but you don't really got to do too much when you're up 59-0 at halftime. And then they put him in bubble wrap. Nate Bargatze said, "Please do not hurt my precious shiny new toy here," after I just gave him that big old bag. And then, night game is more what you're used to seeing in terms of a traditional back and forth rivalry. We saw the outstanding Canadian, Mr. Georges himself, running wild for Baylor. 152 yards on the ground, putting up some decent numbers. But nothing compared to what we saw this morning. You're right, Mo. State championship records falling by the wayside from none other than Graham Simpson over there at Westview. 556 yards, that's a record. He set the record. Won't be broken. I feel pretty confident in this one, Mo. A 99-yard touchdown. They just racked up record after record versus a fellow undefeated team in Gatlinburg Pittman. I had high hopes for that game, but it did not pan out that way.
Yeah, not at all, man. And like you said, you felt like two undefeateds.
Yeah.
You don't expect a 41-point win in either direction there, but I mean, I'm not sure if it's that much better ball being played over in West Tennessee, or if it's or if it's just the Simpson factor. I'm not sure, but like you said, Graham Simpson with a game for the ages, 612 total offensive yards, and accounted for 8 touchdowns in that 62-21 victory. I would imagine right now we've got South Pittsburgh and McKenzie going in the Class 1A championship game that was supposed to kick at 2. When we come back from the break, hopefully we can get you a scoring update on that one. But yeah, hopefully some of these other games will be a little bit more compelling theater, like Wade said, because 61-27, that's 44-41 today. 52 in the second game last night. That's kind of a tough watch after a point. So, but congratulations to our winners and good luck to our participants the rest of the weekend here. As tomorrow night we'll have Oakland and Ravenwood going for it in the final game of the weekend in 6A. Another couple of unbeatens there, and a big one tonight with Sevier County and Page and the rematch from last year. So lot of stuff going on down in Chattanooga. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. We'll recap it all for you on Monday here on Main Street Sports Today. Let's go ahead and take a break here as we continue the weekend warm-up edition brought to you by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner talking Little Titans. Stick around.
thing just got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Welcome back into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and South Pittsburgh just took a 7-0 lead against McKenzie about midway through the first quarter of the Blue Cross Bowl Class 1A state championship game. We will try to keep you up to date as best we can on those proceedings over the next hour and some change, next couple of hours, roughly. So, but right now, we are pleased to have with us from the Nashville Banner, David BOCLAIR. You can find him at BOCLAIR Sports on Twitter or on X, however you care to refer to it. David, the Titans head north to Cleveland Sunday afternoon. First of all, good afternoon. But what? At this point, we're 1-11. The team is 1-11, and I get stuck on this. It's tough to discuss this team at this point. I don't know what it is that you look for, what it is they're trying to accomplish, what it is as a fan we're trying to accomplish. It's just a tough place to be. I mean, 5-7 obviously feels different than 1-11. Even 3-9 feels different than 1-11. 1-11 just hits you in the face, man.
Yeah, and what they've done, though, actually, they've been so bad now that they actually have set up some real drama for the last 5 games of the season here. And I'm not just talking about, the race to the number 1 overall pick, if you will, which that game against New Orleans here at the end of the month is obviously going to be huge in that. But just think about it this way: since the AFC South was formed in 2002, Titans have never gone winless in all 6 division games. Well, here they are, 0-5 now. And all they've got left is at Jacksonville in Week 18, which is probably going to be a game that is going to figure into the playoff picture somehow for the Jaguars. So they're staring down the barrel of 0-6 in the division for the first time since this division was created. The Nissan Stadium, not long for this world, but they might do something here that they've never done there either. They've since that stadium opened in '99, they've never gone winless at home. There's 3 times they've gone 1-7, including last season, and the other 2 were the Ken Wisenhunt years of 2014, 2015. But right now they're sitting at 0-7, so they've tied their franchise record for most losses at Nissan Stadium in a single season. And they still have 2 games to go this year to try and break that record, with Kansas City coming in here on the 21st and then New Orleans on the 28th. So if you're looking for reasons to really want this team to win, there's some dubious records to try and avoid here. Which I think sort of speaks to what you were saying, Mo. That's just how bad this season has become for this bunch.
When you put it that way, David, that's just stark.
Yeah,
right there. It's
the only team in the history of the AFC South, by the way, that has gone 0-6 was the Houston Texans in 2005. Like, even in their inaugural season, 2002, 2003, they managed to win a game or 2 in the division. So to be 0-5 at this point is really it's shocking, I guess, in a way that you wouldn't have thought of probably at the start of the season.
You wouldn't have thought of it because you didn't think this division was necessarily that great at the start of the season. Obviously, Indianapolis got off to a great start. They've kind of tailed off. Houston kind of struggled early. They seem to have kind of found something maybe. And Jacksonville has just kind of been Jacksonville, but they just thrashed you 25-3 after a field goal on the opening drive. So 0-6 looks, if you wanted to put a couple of shekels on it, as somebody on this show might say, you that feels like a pretty strong possibility.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And like I say, especially if that game means something to Jacksonville, which the way this division race has shaped up, it absolutely could mean something for Jacksonville. And while we're talking about the division, go ahead and figure this: 5 games left in the year. Titans are guaranteed to finish last. They are 6 games behind the third place team, which is Houston at 7-5 right now. So that's hard to do too, to not only be eliminated from playoff, but you're guaranteed. And this will be 3 straight years now that this team has finished in last place, which again is another thing that hasn't happened all that often. Houston did it 2005 to 2007. Jacksonville had a 4-year run of futility, 2018 to 21. And now the Titans are guaranteed to finish last themselves for 3 years in a row, which we see we can turn it around in this league, but it just feels like there's a long way up from where this team is right now. They need to get to January. They need to get a coach hired and kind of create that sense of, okay, something new is coming, something exciting is happening, and get a little bit of optimism, because it doesn't feel like anything can happen this particular season that is going to create optimism for this bunch.
David, Mo kind of touched on it a minute ago, but as you kind of go through the standings there, I think the one thing, maybe almost throw this season completely out, but even glancing toward next year, I don't necessarily feel as good, outside of the Titans even. I don't like what I'm seeing from Indy. I don't like what I'm seeing from Jacksonville. I don't like what I'm seeing from Houston. Certainly, that was kind of the saving grace. It felt like, as Mo mentioned kind of a minute ago, is you're in the AFC South. You don't got to be that great to win it. But suddenly it seems like, not elite teams by any means, but suddenly the division doesn't look half bad.
Well, it's an elite defense in Houston, to be sure. Yeah. And one that is still fairly young when you're talking about guys like Anderson and Stingley and they could be together for a while. I think that unit's going to be a problem. Everybody's got a young quarterback. I still don't think anybody's really sold on Daniel Jones, though, right? Is he the guy who's going to lead Indianapolis for the next decade and make them a problem? I don't know. Trevor Lawrence doesn't scare me a whole lot, but he's a good quarterback. Certainly, you put enough talent around him. Sunday, that's the thing. That's the thing. This past Sunday too is Jacksonville whipped the Titans 25-3, but it didn't feel like Jacksonville played particularly well. And relative to like what we saw when the Texans were in here, or the way the Colts whipped up on the Titans the first time they met this year. It's this was a bad performance for the Titans Sunday, and let's face it, they can't afford bad performances, right? I mean, they had a 4-game homestand. They haven't been on the road since the last week in October. They were home all of November. It's only the second time in the Titans era that they've played 4 straight home games, and they also had an open date in there. They lost all 4 of them, obviously. The first 3 were 1-score games where, like the Chargers game, they did things in that game that should win you a football game when you're talking about returning an interception for a touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown in the same game. That should win you a game, and it didn't. The Seattle game, they were getting blown out, and they actually kind of made people feel a little better in the way they dug in their heels and came back in the second half and almost had a chance late in that game. But the thing I didn't like is they came out of that game almost talking like they had accomplished something, and they felt a little too good about themselves after a loss in that one. And I think they sort of set themselves up for what happened Sunday against Jacksonville. And now we got this Cleveland game this week, and it's sort of like, okay, so what is this team? Are they just playing out the string, or are these guys trying to show some personal and professional pride and doing what they can? They're saying the right things this week, but until I see it, like Cleveland is never a fun place to play. It's certainly not a fun place in December, and if the attitude of this bunch is bad, it's going to show up on Sunday.
With that being said, David, there was a little sign of maybe, quiet optimism, even though they had suffered losses versus Los Angeles, Houston, and Seattle. But then it was completely flat on the face this past Sunday. Do we, in your gut, or do we have any sort of inkling other than just flat out not showing up? Because any sort of positive momentum completely fell out the wayside by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm not in the meeting rooms, obviously. Media access to practice is limited. You don't know what it was like, but it just felt like to me they got. I don't like that idea that they didn't show up. I just think they got a little too comfortable, and when
didn't show up with that real edge. Yeah. It felt like they had a little bit of an edge in at least one or two of those previous games.
I felt like they were trying to fight against the narrative that that they had been creating for themselves, the way they came back against Seattle. But it just felt like then they got a little comfortable, and when Jacksonville got them on their heels, then they just weren't in the right place to respond the way they had the week before, and we saw what they ended up with Sunday.
David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It struck me, David, when you said that last week was a bad game. I mean, when you're 1-11 and one game in particular sticks out as a bad game, when you're taking it all as a whole, it was really bad, clearly. But how do you now bounce back from that and take this act on the road against a Cleveland team that, again, is not great either?
Yeah, I think you've got to find something beyond just okay, it's the next game on our schedule. They've got to find a reason to feel like they really need to beat the Browns, and maybe that reason is they like Cam Ward and they want to take some heat off Cam Ward. Because let's face it, Cam was the only rookie quarterback in this year's class starting in week 1. So there wasn't a lot of grounds for comparison until Jackson Dart started playing for the Giants. And there's still sort of the sense that, okay, Cam's in a different situation. Neither one of those teams is very good, but Ward has played every single snap. He's had some good moments, but this matchup with Shedeur Sanders on Sunday is really fascinating to me in that Cam is the guy who was drafted exactly where everybody expected him to be drafted. Shedeur, of course, is the guy who was drafted where nobody expected him to be drafted. And, I'm still not sure Mel Kiper has recovered from draft day, if you remember, for folks who watched him during that. And, but it feels like this is the first time to me, it feels like if the other quarterback in this game outplays Cam Ward by a wide margin, it's gonna really dent the idea that this is the guy that you want to build the franchise around, or that they had a choice and they made the wrong choice. I don't think there's been anything to this point, regardless of the struggles, that has made people think, yeah, the Titans made the wrong choice there. I think it's been more like, okay, he hasn't been great, but this is not a very good team. He's learning. He's showing us things from time to time. This is the one where I think it can really dent that line of thinking, and people will go, now, wait a minute. What did the Titans do here picking this guy? And that's, that would only pile on to what is already a really bad season from a PR perspective.
There are two things that stick out to me when you discuss this situation in that manner. One, I'm not sure Cleveland wants Shedeur to have that type game either.
You might be right. Yeah. It certainly doesn't feel like they're like, yeah, we got this guy on the field now, let's ride with him.
No, it doesn't feel like that at all. And two, from what we've seen of the Tennessee secondary, it could absolutely play out that way.
Yeah.
And not necessarily be any fault of Cam's.
Absolutely. And when you look at the other side of that too, and Cleveland's defense, and particularly Myles Garrett and what he could do to this offensive line, I'm telling you, CBS Sports puts out a news release every week about the games they're covering and notable things that can happen. This week's Titans-Browns game had one of the longest lists of potential noteworthy stats that could come out of this game. I want to say it was like 14 items. I can't remember the last time I've seen a game with like 14 items. Every single one of them was related to Myles Garrett and what Myles Garrett can accomplish in terms of the sack numbers and quarterback pressure numbers and all the things that he's doing. And, those of us who have watched this Titans offensive line every week and you see the numbers that Myles Garrett has put up, and this is a guy who's been a really good player in the league for a number of years now, and it feels like this is the best version we've seen of him yet. It's just terrifying to think that Cam Ward might have about a second and a half to throw most times he drops back on Sunday.
You've got a guy who gets a lot of sacks, and you've got a line that gives up a lot of sacks. It's not a great combination for Cam Ward, it doesn't feel like.
Indeed. It's just and it felt like, and it feels like too, like Sunday was the first time this year I felt like the almost constant pressure and the number of hits and everything was starting to get to Cam. Like there were more times than usual that he didn't set his feet in the pocket, and it felt like he was just thinking, I got to get rid of this ball. And he looked a little, his body language wasn't quite as good as it's been most of the year, certainly not as good as it was earlier in the year. And I think the pounding is starting to weigh on him a little bit, and this is a game that it feels like is probably not going to help him in that regard.
It feels like, David, we are kind of getting to the worst case scenario that some people may have envisioned leading up to taking a highly touted quarterback behind a line that has not been great over the last bit. And the talk was, well, we've improved the line. Well, what have they given up? 48 sacks?
Yeah, I think that's the number. That sounds right.
So, 4 sacks a game,
yeah,
particularly for a rookie quarterback, isn't great.
Right. To his credit, like the one thing we've seen the last couple games and that they've tried to coach him on is, Cam Ward's a little too, it's funny, he's a little too focused on the idea that when you're moving around in the pocket or when you scramble around a little bit, keep your eyes downfield and look for opportunities to throw the ball. I've never seen a rookie quarterback who airs to that side of the ledger as opposed to taking off and running. They've been coaching him like, it's okay to take off and run, particularly if it's 2nd and 6 and you pick up 5 yards, that's good. Or, 7 yards is even better. And we've seen a little bit more of that from Cam, where he can sort of manage the situation on his own there. And I would think they're probably in his head this week saying, don't linger in the pocket. If it's not there early in the read, just get out and go and get what you can, and we'll move on to the next play.
Well, I imagine if he's watching any film and he's seeing 95 over there on the other side, lingering in the pocket probably ain't a great idea anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It almost reminds me. I saw a great story one time when Lawrence Taylor was in his heyday. This has nothing to do with anything other than just great pass rushers, but it made me laugh. Ron Jaworski of the Eagles was so terrified of Lawrence Taylor when they played, and they
understandably so.
Yeah, they told the story. They told the story one time, on whatever play, Lawrence Taylor got kicked in the gut or something, had the wind knocked out of him, had to come off the field for a play just to catch his breath or whatever. The Eagles break the huddle. Ron Jaworski comes up to the line of scrimmage, looking around, trying to identify where Lawrence Taylor is so he can set the protection, and he can't find him. And they actually, I've actually seen the clip. You can see his head start snapping around like he's going crazy trying to figure out where Lawrence Taylor is, and actually calls timeout because he couldn't find him. He was, and this was when Jaworski was a veteran. Maybe Cam Ward will be blessed with the ignorance of youth in that regard. Not know enough to be as frightened as he should be. But that's what a great pass rusher can do to an offense sometimes. And maybe it could be that kind of day for the Titans Sunday if things go really badly.
What is the best case scenario for the Titans in this situation?
The best case scenario is they get on the board early. They kind of like they did with the Chargers, right? They get something unexpected where it's maybe Chim Dike takes another return to the house, or the defense forces a turnover early, because I think you can feel like there's opportunities to get turnovers, right? There's a rookie quarterback on the other side and a guy who hasn't played nearly as much as your rookie quarterback. Do some things to try and confuse him, get him to throw the ball someplace he shouldn't, and give your offense a short field, get a little momentum early, and see what you can do. Make them chase you. I mean, you think about this year, the Titans have been ahead so little. I mean, there's the majority of the games they've not been ahead at all. And you said it, Sunday against Jacksonville, they get the early field goal, then they fall behind, and they're pedaling uphill the whole rest of the game. I think if this team has a lead and can loosen up and play a little bit free and easy in a way they haven't all year, that would be the best thing for them. If the offense goes down, scores a touchdown, you get an early turnover, turn that into a field goal, a 10-0 lead might be enough to ride it out to the finish for a change.
That's the interesting recipe of all this game, David. And I know we're talking about, basically a tankathon elimination game here. We're scraping bottom of the barrel. But the recipe for the Titans really almost, you need maybe a special teams, and you need to take advantage of the other rookie quarterback. Because it sure doesn't feel like your offense is really realistically going to be able to produce the goods versus that kind of a defense that they've got.
No, it's especially with the injuries they've had at wide receiver lately too. They were not a great wide receiver group to begin with, and then you lose Calvin Ridley for the year, and then you lose Bryce Oliver, who's not not anybody's all pro or anything like that. But there was the excitement with Xavier Restrepo, who he's never going to be an all world guy either, but he does have that connection with Cam Ward from Miami. People wanted to see that. He caught a couple of passes against the Seahawks, and then he gets hurt first thing against the Jaguars, and now he's out for a while. There's not a lot of bodies to begin with, and there's not anybody that scares opposing defenses particularly, except maybe DK at this point. I think that's the guy. If you're an opposing defense, you say, well, let's make sure he doesn't beat us deep. Io Manor seems to be struggling a little bit right now. The tight ends are the ones getting the ball most often. It's just this offense is not going to put up 30 points on its own. They're going to need help from the other units to try and drive up the score here. If this turns into a game where maybe more than 24 or something is what it's going to take to win it. Although I doubt that's the case. But if it's that, it's going to be because other units are chipping in.
David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Titans at Browns, 12 o'clock noon. That game is on Fox.
It is Fox, though. Okay, then it was the league packet that I was looking at with. I think I said CBS earlier, but it's astonishing, quite honestly, all the potential things that Myles Garrett can accomplish in this one.
That is pretty amazing, and against this offense, it's probably a pretty good bet that he accomplishes a lot of them. David, we appreciate it.
15 sacks in his last 6 games.
Yeah.
If the name Chandler Jones is mentioned during the broadcast on Sunday, you'll know that the Titans have gotten in trouble because 5 sacks that afternoon, faithfully versus Taylor Lewan. I was looking at the list, guys. Single game sack records. The records obviously was 7 by the late, great Derek Thomas. But Myles Garrett has had 3 of the top 40 single-game sack marks on this top 40 list. So good luck, Titans.
Yeah, and he's gone public recently with his relationship with Olympic snowboarder Chloe Kim. So maybe being in love is what he's trying to impress his lady now and really cranking it up a notch.
The love of a good woman, huh?
That's right.
Okay, so one final question, David. No, I'm not even going to go there. I'm not even going to put that in our universe. Never mind. David, I appreciate you taking some time with us, man, and stay warm.
Yeah, I'm doing my best. You guys too. It's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, DB. Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little more NFL. Stick around.
Columbia Power and Water Systems is dedicated to bringing our customers reliable, local service. Whether you're turning on a light switch, your faucet, or streaming on TV, our dedicated team members from here in Murray County work every day to keep you on. If you need us, call us 931-388-4833 or visit cpws.com. CPWS, local service, local support.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Nashville's Nutcracker, presented by Nashville Ballet, returns to TPAC November 29th through December 28th. This holiday season, audiences will journey with Clara and the Nutcracker Prince through Nashville's history and the land of sweets. Tickets on sale at NashvilleBallet.com.
Weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. Wade, who has had a wardrobe change over the break. I'm Maurice Patton. South Pittsburgh leads McKenzie 21-0. A minute into the second quarter, according to this. Yeah. Wow.
Pirates.
Yeah. There you go. 17 for who, Wade? Who is that?
Well, it's part of our next segment. It was a record-breaking night last night for the Wonder Leg.
I didn't realize that he began his professional career in MLS.
Was a Notre? I hate to say it. Don't let David Wilson catch wind of it, but a stud at Notre Dame on the soccer field.
Yeah. Brandon Aubrey was the highlight for the Cowboys in a 44-30 loss at Detroit last night. Jahmyr Gibbs doing Jahmyr Gibbs things, 3 touchdowns, including one that sealed it when Dallas thought they were getting ready to get back into it. They had cut the deficit to 37-30, and he breaks one untouched off the right side because, again, that's just what he does, man. He's amazing to watch. Dak gets sacked 5 times. And as Calvin and I discussed yesterday on the show, this kind of felt like a playoff game for Dallas. And if it was, then they didn't get a good result, falling to 6-1. And their playoff probability apparently has fallen to 7%. But, again, it wasn't Brandon Aubrey's fault. 5 field goals, 3 55 yards or longer. And that's a nice little security blanket there. But also, I mean, you would like to be able to finish some of those drives instead of stalling out around the 40, I would think.
Yeah, and that's one of the big talking points, the pass interference or perhaps, lack thereof from Ferguson in the end zone. But really, the decision, to go for the field goal and cut it to 7, as you mentioned, knowing you're going to need to get a stop versus a Lions offense that has looked pretty strong all night. Maybe you go for it. Maybe you get the touchdown and put a little extra pressure on them. But hard to say. But yeah, Cowboys, a must win for them. It was basically an elimination game for these two teams last night because the Lions, they had loved this website I found in the last couple of weeks, NFL playoff leverage. The Lions with a loss would have fallen to 21. They slingshot up to 63% to make it. And you mentioned it a moment ago. That was a pivotal game for the Cowboys, who maybe even could flirt with winning the division had they won that game, but would have gone up to about 50% to make the playoffs, but they swing back down to single digits. So a desperate, hungry Lions team is not to be trifled with, and Dallas found that out the hard way last night. Good game, entertaining game, despite it being on Thursday night.
Yeah, and adding injury to insult, C.D. Lamb suffers a concussion for the Cowboys last night.
Yeah, it was a tough break for him. And then also Branch with an Achilles. Brian Branch, that is, it is confirmed today he has an Achilles injury. And that obviously is a bigger story going forward, just from the fact that the Lions are going to be playing more meaningful games down the road. Maybe not as much for Dallas. But yeah, Lamb going out, Branch right there at the end of the game. I mean, it was tough. Both teams kind of battling and dealing with some injuries. And CD, man, it was a little bit of a milk carton performance last night from our guy George Pickens, who had, single-handedly basically declared himself the biggest, baddest receiver. And then, I don't know about you, but a couple of them attempts late in the game, he didn't even have alligator arms. He was less than alligator arms on some of them bad boys.
There are people in Pittsburgh who aren't necessarily surprised.
Yeah, and I mean, he had been playing well. Dak, ironically, had been maybe delivering his best season in a Dallas Cowboys uniform over the course of this year. They had picked themselves up out of the kind of primordial ooze and got back into contention but it wasn't meant to be when they finally ran into a tough team last night. Dak with 2 interceptions too didn't help their cause. So kind of classic Cowboys, right? Just when you think you could trust them, they run into a team of equal or better caliber, and they failed that test last night. But a must win for the Lions.
Meanwhile, Wade's jersey's sake there again, 5 field goals, the second time in his career. He has the most 60-yard plus field goals in a single season and in a career. Think he made the right move giving up soccer.
Yeah, and he gave me several thousand reasons to maybe want to go out and acquire a jersey of his earlier this year is all I'm going to say about that. But yes, this dude is a kicking machine, and it's fun and it's interesting. I kind of wish, he was on a team that really was in the thick of things, because with that guy and that leg and that accuracy, you kind of almost have to totally reshape and rethink conventional game planning. And when I say even the situation last night, right? Because if you go for the touchdown first, if you don't get it, the game is already over there anyway. But if you go for it and you get the touchdown, you get the stop, all you need is 3 to maybe send it to overtime. You don't have to drive that far, as we've seen with the leg of Aubrey. Whereas you take the field goal then, now you need the touchdown. You got to go the full length of the field. So I love the kind of game strategy that he presents and game theory he presents to these coaches. But unfortunately, it's kind of going to be a little wasted in terms of meaningful games down the stretch here.
Yeah. If you are looking for meaningful games on Sunday, Pittsburgh plays at Baltimore. That game is on CBS. It's a 12 noon start. Both these teams are 6-6 in the AFC North. And as you talk about the playoffs beginning, I would say that this is one of those type games, an elimination game for both the Steelers and the Ravens with 5 to play.
Yeah, this is the division that nobody wants to win. And, so maybe they'll tie on Sunday. But Pittsburgh was sitting pretty when the Ravens were absolutely crumbling before our very eyes at the start of the year. And then now all of a sudden the Ravens have come roaring back, and you're thinking, okay, everything's kind of right where it needs to be. Haven't pulled his head as far as they perhaps would like, but the Steelers keep losing games. This is setting up to be a classic game. No matter how it plays out, Harbaugh or Tomlin is going to catch a lot of heat in this game. And Pittsburgh, this definitely feels like a game that they got no business winning, which means they probably will go out and somehow find a way to win it. That's the way the Steelers and the way Mike Tomlin coaches. Meanwhile, Harbaugh, this feels like a game they desperately have to have, which means they probably will lose. So I don't know what the heck's going to happen. That is going to be an epic AFC North showdown on Sunday. You're right.
And not only for Tomlin and Harbaugh, but also for Jackson and Rodgers, I would imagine. Rodgers maybe deserves whatever he gets, but Lamar, with a Baltimore loss, I'm sure a lot of this will fall on him one way or the other as well.
Only in the sense that, hey, he was out so many games earlier. They're clawing back because of they didn't have their MVP there. If they had him, maybe we're still talking about the Ravens running away with the number 1 or number 2 seed in the AFC right now, but that's not how it played out. And they find themselves in one of these classic battles, only a game that a fan of really one of these two teams could love. It'll be a fun, yucky, gross game over there at the M&T Bank Stadium on Sunday.
Indianapolis at Jacksonville in a matchup of 8-4 AFC South teams. That one's also on CBS. Maybe we'll get that. We'll probably get that one, I would think, since the Titans are on Fox. But again, another interesting matchup. Which Indianapolis team do you get down at Jacksonville?
Yeah, and this is a massive with for both of these teams. And the Colts come plummeting back to earth with a loss here. I mentioned that leverage chart earlier. They're sitting, with the win, they creep up back to 90%, and they probably maybe even eventually are able to stranglehold the division down the stretch. But if you lose, man, this is going to – not that we ever really – I don't know about you, but ever really trusted the Colts to really do this thing and be the team that they kind of were early in the season. But this would still be a catastrophic collapse if they fall. And whether it's Jacksonville or whether it's Houston that maybe does the bidding in their absence, it will be a really icky situation and gross situation up there in Indy if they don't get the job done down the stretch here.
Can Chicago go into Lambeau Field and pick up a win to stay at the top of the NFC North? The Bears 9-3, Packers 8-3-1. That's the late game on Fox on Sunday afternoon.
You wouldn't think so, But, the Bears got some weird juju. I don't know if it's the Ben Johnson juice, with his shirt off. I mean, he's looking ripped. He's looking the team. This is a dangerous thing, right? Because the Bears were not good to start the year. And then all of a sudden started getting a little confidence. And then now we have kind of blown past the point. They're not a great team. They're still a flawed team in many respects. Right. But they believe the hype that Ben Johnson was selling them from the start of the season. And just like we're sitting here watching high school football, belief can carry you a long way, even if talent won't get you there. Green Bay needs this game just as much as the Bears do. Obviously, the Bears are in a weird spot and kind of sitting prettier than we could have ever dreamed. Feels to me like Green Bay needs to take care of business. They're favored by close to a touchdown. I don't really have a feel on this game just because the Bears have been this ultimate kind of wild card.
Green Bay needs this game. Matt LaFleur needs this game. Going to be an interesting one to watch on NBC Sunday night.
Hey, real quick, did see a report though. Roma Dunze is now ruled out for that game, so maybe that alters some of our thought process going into one of Caleb Williams' big targets will be missing.
No doubt. Houston goes to Kansas City. Kansas City coming off that loss to Dallas on Thanksgiving, as we have pronounced them in playoff mode for the last couple of weeks, and that hasn't necessarily worked out for the Chiefs.
Yeah, a loss here sends them, win will catapult them up to 60% to make it, a loss down to 15%. This is for all intents and purposes. Yeah, the Chiefs have to essentially win out going forward. Houston, meanwhile, if they win, this opens up the door not only for, where they're currently sitting in a wild card capacity, but you can maybe make the case. This could be a 3-horse race coming down the stretch in the AFC South. The Titans obviously are sitting this race out this go around, but it could be a really, really fun ride down the stretch between these three teams. And I don't know, with Stroud coming back too, the defense is just so elite. Something about this Texans team has got me kind of fired up, and their offensive line is still a little bit of a turnstile, but the Chiefs have been really, really bad, and their pass rush has not been as elite as we've grown to see over the last couple of years. Talk about a way to close it out on Sunday. That'll be a fun one, and the loser may have to leave town. Go old school wrestling there.
There we go. Hour number 1 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. Come back for hour number 2. We'll jump into the grab bag, talk a little hockey, a little NBA, a little Major League Baseball. Stay tuned.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Is your internet slowing you down? It's time for an upgrade. Whether you're at home, working from your home office, or at your business, it's time to unleash the speed you need with speeds up to 1 gig at CPWS for as low as $70 a month. Give us a call, 931-375-7777. Local service, local support, CPWS.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome back in to hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. South Pittsburgh just held McKenzie on 4th down inside the red zone, and they are working their way back up the field. 21-0 Pirates. 3 minutes to play before halftime here. Another one kind of getting out of hand at the Blue Cross Bowl. This in Class 1A. Steven Stamkos with the game winner in overtime last night in Sunrise as the Preds knock off the Panthers 2-1. Show of hands, who expected that? No, not here. So, friend of the show, Ann Kimmel, find her at AnnK_Mama on Ice. The Predators are 4-1 in their last 5 games. Why? Goal scoring, 19 goals in 5 games. Better goaltending, .914 average in 5 games. Scoring from 11 different players, vets and secondary, and 81% penalty kill during that stretch. Pretty good recipe. Glad they found it.
Yeah, it sounds like they're I liked what I heard. Number one, just scoring goals. This was such an anemic offense. I'm not, telling anybody something they don't already know, but it's hard to win when you're not really scoring at a high clip. And we're not talking about scoring at a crazy clip. We're talking anemic levels. So any positivity there is good. I like what you said about the goaltending as well. A little solid net minding, never hurt anybody. And then, kind of putting it together with some special teams play. Feels a little similar. You hear complimentary football a lot. Feels like the Preds are playing kind of complimentary hockey, if I can sort of invent a term there, because for the first time in a long time, they got a little juice to them over these last 5.
Yeah, and again, they go to Carolina tomorrow, looking to kind of continue the good vibes on the ice. And yeah, this town needs somebody to be good, doesn't it?
For our sanity, I think it does. Maybe this is what we deserve, for the financial gain of the rest of the city. Maybe we had to sacrifice some sports teams so the rest of the town could thrive. But yeah, it has not been pretty. And the Preds, man, it's similar to Titans. The Titans have normally benefited from the sense you got 8, maybe 9 home games, and you're in, you're kind of out. It's not sustained. But the Preds don't have anywhere to run, don't have anywhere to hide. You're at home 41 times. And when that building is not just empty, but it's never really empty, Mo. It's just kind of, there's zero excitement. There's zero pop. The only fan reaction you're getting is from the visiting fans. Never a good place to be. So finally, maybe just restoring a little bit of spine and a little bit of backbone. I said I was going to maybe reevaluate in January with this team, and then they just nosedived so hard out of the gate that it made that tough. But if they could just somehow crawl back into relevancy in 26, then maybe the second half could be kind of fun and kind of entertaining.
I think relevancy is a good term, because right now, where this team has been here of late, and I don't know that 4-1 over the last 5 changes that a whole lot, but to this point, it's like, does anybody really care? So, yeah, it's nice for them to be able to stack a few, and it'd be nice if they could get another one here tomorrow against Carolina. Speaking of stacking a few, as the Lakers went into their matchup yesterday at Toronto, LeBron James had scored 10 or more points in 1,297 consecutive regular season games. His game-winning assist in their 123-120 win against the Raptors meant that his streak came to an end. And there are people killing him over it, which is wild.
Well, I mean, I was shocked when I saw that he dumps the pass off to Rui, right? I mean, it felt for all the world for a guy that really makes no bones about making things about himself a lot. I was kind of floored that he passed up. And, maybe that says a little bit more about him. Maybe that says a little bit more that the Lakers might not be as bad as we initially thought going into this season, and have obviously gotten off to an electric start. Maybe that says a little something. And, a streak begins anew, because the last time that this happened, Mo, the iPhone had not been out. The Sopranos was still on the air. Aaron Rodgers had never even thrown an NFL pass, let alone a touchdown pass. And Cooper Flagg was 15 days old.
15 days.
Bronny was 2 years old.
To put this in a little bit more perspective, the second longest double-digit streak was Michael Jordan with 866. Kareem had 787 straight 10-point games, and Karl Malone had 575. That's 2, 3, and 4. He scared the hell out of 1,300 straight games with 10 points or more. And again, the Lakers won 123 to 120. Now, to be fair, when he came back into the game with about 5 minutes and some change remaining, he was 3 of 15 from the floor. Now, does that change how you feel about the game-winning assist? I don't know. He took one other shot once he came back in, missed a 14-footer right at the 1-minute mark. And that was his last shot. So again, the guy's a fantastic passer, always has been. Saw a montage last night of some of his best and greatest passes, but he's a facilitator as much as anything. So it's not a great shock, I don't think, that he had the game-winning assist, but double-digit ball games, you almost just think that's a given, and for good reason, I guess.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest players, one of the greatest scorers, and obviously one of the greatest playmakers in terms of that passing ability. So yeah, we shouldn't be shocked by that. I was only shocked by the fact that he didn't go for the gusto there after making, about this streak. Do want to point out, he is quick to remind everybody it's a regular season streak, because, he only had 7 points in Game 5 of the finals versus the Pacers. Years ago. So he wants to point everybody out that's regular season only. But a streak begins anew. And as I heard somebody put it earlier, now he's got the all-time record for most games with 8 points in a row. So, I mean, that's a different way to look at it if you want.
I don't think he's going to reset the record consecutive double-digit games at this point. So, a little closer to home, as we mentioned during the rundown, Clippers at Memphis tonight. The Grizzlies have won 5 of their last 7, although they're coming off a loss to David Wilson Spurs most recently. But I don't know if this team has figured something out, or if they're taking advantage of a soft spot in the schedule, or both.
A little bit of both. A little bit of Zach Edey coming back. A little bit of roster kind of finally starting to click. The weak schedule certainly hasn't hurt. Well, a couple games against the Kings never hurt anybody. But yeah, they're slowly coming together. You can maybe whisper, at least play-in tournament capacity at this point, but still got a way to go. This game will be fun versus the Clippers, the old arch rival. And I don't know the whereabouts of Chris Paul these days, but you've got to do something to get kicked out of basically your farewell tour. Your farewell tour, you're supposed to be sitting back and telling jokes, playing cards, smoking cigars, and just having one last victory lap. So you got to do something. So I don't know if his whereabouts are close, but I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes across the hall and joins the Lakers locker room, but I really wouldn't be shocked if maybe a team like a Memphis or someone else kind of in desperate need of some backup guard play would reach out to him if he still wants to continue.
I think, I feel like he certainly wants to continue just because he didn't really get the victory lap. I don't think this is the way he wants to end it, even though he was with the franchise that he wanted to end it with. I think the franchise that he would probably be most closely associated with when you take his career into account in its totality. But yeah, you're right. Something had to have taken place. And it doesn't sound like, from some of the things that we've heard about CP, in the aftermath of the Clippers move, it doesn't sound like he is the kick back and smoke a cigar type guy. Probably said something to somebody about somebody's performance or a bunch of folks' performance, maybe not even necessarily players. I'm not sure, but I guess it got to a point that up with this stuff we will not put, and CP3 got sent home from Atlanta a couple of days ago. So yeah, you feel like he's going to resurface somewhere,
Somewhere, and
obviously in a limited role.
And try and squeeze out one last perhaps championship run, because that you can make the case the Clippers, after going 7 games with the Nuggets, maybe they were the 3rd best team, depending on where you rank the Pacers last year, at the end of the entire postseason. And you're thinking all the good vibes, your nostalgia's off the charts, obviously there. And the Clippers are one of the worst teams in the league. So yeah, maybe there's something to be said for the that old dog in him saying, I didn't sign up for this.
Right.
Like you said, if I'm going to sit back and smoke cigars and, be the last guy off the bench and, a little bit of a backup role here, I'm going to find a team that's doing a little bit better than you guys, because you guys stink. And maybe some folks did not like to hear that, because they are putrid.
Meanwhile, the Clippers sent CP3 home, and it sounds like the Bucks are going to send Giannis.
Feeling more and more like it, didn't it?
If you were going to do that, would it not have been more prudent to have done it over the offseason? Or is this the most advantageous time for the Bucks to make this move?
Depending on who you read and who you believe, there was a lot of overtures made to do that in the offseason. I know the Knicks fans, at least, were really hoping that they could pull it off, but just the way the contracts are structured, there was just no way they could be able to absorb him. Some other teams maybe, kind of came in the picture, but it was almost like Milwaukee said, well, we tried. And then they looked around the East and said, well, I don't know, everybody else can be bad. Why can't we just be the best of the bad? And that is what has not had transpired so far in the Eastern Conference for the Bucks. So it almost felt like, the intentions, we tried a little bit in the offseason, but not really. And then maybe they went for it, and now they find themselves kind of in this odd spot. They're in a very weird situation because they don't have a lot of other assets to try and make this thing work if it goes to like a 3 or 4 team trade, beyond what you're getting in Giannis here. And not a lot of other teams can afford to take on that contract. They're kind of in a weird, kind of stuck spot. I'll be fascinated to see how this eventually plays out, but it doesn't feel like he's going to end his career there. Maybe or in this season there.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like for sure. Something to keep an eye on there with Milwaukee and Giannis. It's not the only place where there's interesting stuff going on in Wisconsin, apparently. Doug Gottlieb, in his 2nd year as coach at Wisconsin Green Bay, apparently pulled a Bobby Knight through a chair after a loss last night. There's video of it out there. A number of people have questioned just how much of a fit that was from the get. It doesn't help when your coach is throwing chairs and tantrums, I don't guess.
No, you would think not. But on the other hand, there is no capacity. I'd be sitting here talking about Green Bay basketball on December 5th, if not for that. So if you want to go WWE wrestling style, Jerry Jones style, yeah, you got what you want. But yeah, there ain't no way otherwise we'd be talking about this program at this juncture.
That is true. You are correct, sir. We had Thomas Harding from MLB.com on yesterday, getting you ready for the Major League Baseball winter meetings that will crank up on Monday. But there have been a couple of free agent signings to report. Former San Diego Padres pitcher Dylan Cease has apparently signed a 3-year deal with the Blue Jays, the American League champion Blue Jays. And longtime Brewers closer Devin Williams, who spent the past season with the New York Mets, not always as their closer, has signed with the Mets. So he'll be going across town and will be facing the Braves. Lovely. But couple of moves ahead of the winter meetings. So Hate to see Cease in Toronto.
Yeah, and I'd be curious about Toronto too, because it feels like, they were this kind of plucky underdog story in the sense that they took on the other biggest bully, but they're not exactly small potatoes in terms of dollars and cents. So it doesn't feel like they're going to be done making moves at this point going forward. And I'm always curious to see which teams, kind of stand pat, and which ones kind of try and make some moves to tinker ahead of next year.
Cease 7 years, $210 million. No, they're not the spunky.
I think ninth in payroll last year, and that's going to go up to like fourth or fifth, depending on the rest of the offseason, I think I read.
Meanwhile, Williams signs a 3-year, $51 million deal with the Mets. And I'm intrigued by what that means for Edwin Diaz. I don't know if they're going to share closer roles or if Williams is going to slide into a setup situation. Or if maybe Diaz is also a free agent. I'm not sure. But obviously there's interest in what the Mets are doing because, again, at least one of us is a Braves fan, so we got to keep an eye on those guys. Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. In our final segment, Wade and I will give you our 10 college football weekend winners with the Wonder Slate. But when we come back, we'll be joined by Michael Felder of LEARFIELD Sports to discuss some of these conference championship games and other stuff across college football. Stay tuned.
This holiday season, the largest lantern festival in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. Experience more than 1,000 all-new handcrafted lanterns, towering creatures, magical worlds, and a North Pole village. At the center of it all, the Smashville Ice Rink. Welcome back to Zoolumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Nashville's Nutcracker, presented by Nashville Ballet, returns to TPAC November 29th through December 28th. This holiday season, audiences will journey with Clara and the Nutcracker Prince through Nashville's history and the land of sweets. Tickets on sale at NashvilleBallet.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We continue the weekend warm-up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Halftime of the Class 1A state championship game of the Blue Cross Bowl down at Chattanooga's Finley Stadium. South Pittsburgh 35, McKenzie nothing. Rough time for the Rebels there. We are joined now to talk a little college football by Michael Felder of Learfield Sports. Michael, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Hang on. Let me move. I forgot to move the mic up. There we go. How's that sound?
Come correct now.
There we go.
You're already looking good with the Charlotte FC shirt, but now you got your mic set up. You're okay. Good.
There we go. You know what's been wild to me is that we're seeing kids commit before they're done with their high school football seasons, and I don't think that that's the right thing. I know that's not what we're talking about, but I don't.
No, that's okay. Hey, dude, when we bring you on, we'll take whatever we can get, man. Just kind of stream of consciousness, and I'll fall in with you on that. Actually, it would be nice to see them finish one phase before they get headed on the next one, but I don't know what else there is you can do about it either.
I've been thinking about it, and I think what we have to do is look more at academic calendars for the colleges and less at what makes it easier for coaches that aren't playing in, on championship weekend. It's easy for a coach whose team went, 7-5, unless you're Duke, to go out and recruit real hard, right? It's easy for Virginia Tech to go out and recruit real hard. When you don't have a game coming up this week, and Kirby Smart kind of alluded to it as well, that we got to change the calendar. So we'll see what happens.
I saw a coach who's like playing in the D2 playoffs or something like that. Michael tweeted something out earlier this week telling some of their prospective recruits, guys, don't be offended that we didn't get a hold of you late last night. We're still game planning.
Yeah, I mean that's the reality though, right? Like you don't like, especially if imagine you guys are in Nashville, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're in Nashville. You're recruiting for Vandy, and you got a kid that you want to get that lives in California, a kid that lives in Ohio, or a kid that lives even in Georgia, and you're trying to get something done for the weekend, this upcoming weekend. What are you going to do? Send the coach there? No. That coach should be here with his players. I mean, and that's real life for Georgia and Alabama this week. It's real life for Ohio State. It's real life. I mean, even for Indiana, they got some kids from New Jersey that they really want to get. And what you got to find that balance. So I don't think it's fair to the teams. I also don't think it's fair to the players because signing day. Wade, I know you know what signing day was like, right? And I'm sure you do too. MP, I'm sure you know. You remember there were people that used to take the day off that first week.
Oh yeah.
Start of February, they used to take that day off.
Get that fax machine ready, baby.
For sure.
They used to just have a camera that was on a fax machine.
On the fax machine.
And
looking for the stuff to come in. Yep.
it's lost a little bit of its luster. I'm trying to think of a way how you can bring it back, but I also want these high school players to finish something that I do think is a beautiful part, like finish playing football with your friends, right? The guys you go hit mailboxes with baseball bats with, and the guys that you know what I'm saying? Like the guys you pull Christmas trees with. Like I want you to get through that before you embark on your college journey. Was that bad? Was that wrong?
No, it just true story.
A little too close to home for me, so I'm just gonna.
It is a little too close for home. True story. We had some kids arrested for mailbox bashing last year. So yeah, it's all fun and games until it's your mailbox, I guess. But
yeah, you ain't wrong about that because if I gotta put a new one up, I'm gonna find you.
Right, exactly. So before we get into conference championship games, though, Michael, did Penn State think this thing all the way through?
No, I don't think they thought at all. Because what's the words from Sandlot? If you were thinking, you would have thought of that. And that's the reality. They have a higher. They're very self-important, right? There's a lot of people. What do you call it? Main character syndrome. And for some reason, they think they're the main character in the Big Ten, and clearly, they're not even close. They think they're the main character of college football, and they're not the main character in the Big Ten. They're not the main character with respect to the little trio of Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. They're not the main character of that. I'd argue in that corridor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're the main character of that either. I think there's there's a reason James Franklin was able to take every single recruit they had. And it's because they're like, oh, you know what's easy for me to do? Get to Blacksburg. Penn State has so many issues that they refuse to address. And I don't need to get into like the Sandusky of it all, but the reality of it is it's a hard place to get to.
It really is. I've been there, and it's from here, and it's not an easy place to get to. And I was having that conversation. Yeah, I went through Philly, I think.
Okay, so that's a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. You fly into Philly, then you got to drive.
You're right. Right.
You stay in Harrisburg?
Yes.
See, I know. I haven't been there, but I know the way.
Yep. Yep. And no, it was not pretty. It was not fun, and I was happy to get back. So
yeah,
that's where the happy comes from. You're happy to leave. I don't know. But it's just an interesting. It's been an interesting watch. I guess Matt Campbell is the name that everybody's kind of settling on now.
Right.
But
yeah,
at this point, why not just go with Terry Smith?
I think so. Here's what I think. I don't know if you guys saw the leaked, the rumors of the leaked players' athletic director meeting. The players obviously held up signs for Terry Smith. I think that he doesn't want the players to seem like they have control.
Pride goeth before a fall.
Exactly. Those are the words I was looking for, but yes. And Matt Campbell's a good football coach. Obviously, Iowa State didn't have the best year that they could have had, or the best years they've had in years, because Matt Campbell was a top candidate for the USC job before Lincoln Riley got it. And I think Matt Campbell, again, he's a good coach, but I think what they're looking for is someone that's going to continue down that Penn State path. I actually was surprised that Michigan State didn't hire Matt Campbell because I thought that would have been a really perfect fit. Instead, they obviously get Pat Fitzgerald, which I know that he's been kind of sort of exonerated, but you can't keep having coaches that have these same problems. And so we'll see how that works out. I know my wife, who went to Michigan State, was not thrilled with the hire. But to go back to Penn State, if it is Matt Campbell, here's what I'll say. They better hope it's Matt Campbell.
Right.
Because if he says no, buddy, now we're looking at the clock. Signing day is over. Portal don't start until the 2nd of January. What are y'all going to do? Just hang out?
It feels like at that point, it's kind of comical that you could fire Franklin in the middle of this season and you're basically first to market for next season because you're in such a weird spot. The picture you just painted right there, Michael.
Right. So you I like stand pat. I'm fine. Stand pat with Terry Smith because unless Tony Elliott after this ACC championship game, if they lose that game, I think Tony Elliott's the call. Make a call to him if Matt Campbell's not already working out. But if it's not going to be Campbell or Elliott, buddy, we're gonna keep Terry Smith.
Real quick, I want to ask you from the Campbell side of things. You mentioned USC a moment ago. Why is it now? Man, there's been so much smoke and so many seemingly good links for this guy over the last couple of years. Why is this the move at this time in your mind for him, I guess?
I think there's sometimes you realize that maybe you made the wrong choice. It's like, when you're dating a girl and you're like, man, I should have married her. And then you kind of played around and you didn't pull the trigger. And then she ends up with someone that's the same as you, not better, the same as you. But she got tired of you waiting around. And then all of a sudden she marries someone who's not better than you. Maybe she even marries someone who looks almost exactly like you. And you're like, man, I should have married this girl. I should have done that. What am I doing? And I think Matt Campbell's sitting there like, oh man, should have married that girl. She was awesome. She had like a PhD and she was helping kids and she was, she was so nice and she was so good to me and we were good together. And I didn't do it, or I messed it up. And I think Matt Campbell, he's looking at USC like that could have been us. I could have coached Caleb Williams, maybe. And then he's like, oh, I guess this is the best thing I should do. So it's been interesting. Like it's just, I think you get to a point where he's like, I think he realizes he's reached the end of how good they can be at Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're happy with that, you live with it. But it seems like he apparently, if he's shopping for this job, it seems like he's not that happy with it.
And Michael, you see that in college football. I'm reminded of Tom Allen when he was at Indiana when they got so hot, and he tried to ride that thing out. And next thing you know, he winds up getting fired. It's Signetti, and you know the rest of the story. But there are places where it's not sustainable, and when you get it to that point, you better be ready to get the hell out.
Well, it's either get out or stay. And I think those are there's only two options, get out or stay. Well, I guess there's a third option, they kick you out.
Right.
But I talked to Tom Allen one time in O'Hare. I think it was his son. He was taking his son back to school. And there was another coach who was a quarterback's coach for Duke that was there going to the combine for Daniel Jones. We were all in the airport at the Chili's to go.
Okay, all right.
And I didn't even really talk. I didn't talk much. I just listened. But they were like, this industry is hard and you got to figure this out. But at the end of the day, like, there's places you can go. I think Indiana is one of them. The last 2 seasons for Indiana have been magical. So Kurt Signetti can't really do anything wrong. They're going to the playoff. If they miss the playoff next year, guess what? Nobody going to complain. I think about Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a place that has had Dave Clawson. They had Dave Clawson for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Made an amazing offseason hire with Dickert. But they had Jim Grove for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, we're good with this. We're not greedy. What's DMX say? Keep it real, partner. Give to the needy. Like, just like they're not stop being greedy. Like, they're not greedy. And I think you have to balance that out. NC State, they've had Dave Doran for over a decade. And Doran is someone that this year his team put it together in a way that they hadn't put it together for a few years, and they're fine with it. I thought that Ole Miss had that with Lane Kiffin, especially when he put him in position to go to play at least for a championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think about that. I don't think in watching Dan Mullen reinforce that he's committed to UNLV. I think he's been through the grinder and he's like, look, man,
I'm good.
No, I like where I'm at. I'm going to keep doing this.
Keep my head down.
Yeah.
Michael Felder.
Don't call me.
Yeah, Michael Felder from Learfield Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Michael, of these conference championship games here over the next 36, 48 hours,
you're better at that than I am, player.
Yeah. Who have you got your eye on? What have you got your eye on?
I think JMU is going to smoke Troy. I'm curious about Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State. Obviously, that's tonight. All this is tonight. I think Tulane's going to win. Sumrall did it honorably, leaving to go to Florida, but he is going to finish this season out. He talked to his kids, unlike one who shall not be mentioned. And I'm rooting for UNLV. I kind of hinted at that earlier. I think BYU, Texas Tech is a machine, and Joey McGuire has some really good thoughts about the coaching carousel and whatnot. I'm not going to pretend like I really care about Miami against Western Michigan. I couldn't tell you a single thing about that game. I'm not going to pretend.
All that maction for nothing.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I have a 7-year-old. So on Tuesdays we're doing paint.
I'm just waiting for UMass to sneak into that MAC title game one year.
That'd be fun. Georgia, Alabama. I think that here's the thing. Let me. You know what? I'm flipping it on you guys. Wouldn't it? I am. I'm flipping. I flip you for real.
Come on.
Wouldn't it be better for the SEC as a whole
Mm-hmm.
if Alabama beat Georgia.
I knew where you were going as soon as you
Yeah.
started setting that up. For the SEC as a whole, I think it would be better because Georgia's going to be in a better spot with a loss than Alabama is going to be in with a loss in terms of the playoff.
Five
So,
teams. 5 teams in. Cha-ching. That's big. That's more money.
So
let's do it.
So what you're saying is Greg Sankey is wearing crimson this weekend, huh?
Yeah, listen, if I'm Greg Sankey, I'm slipping a check under Kirby's hotel room and just and what it's for, it just says, please help us.
You'll know what to do.
There's more where this came from. Yeah.
Yeah. In Indiana, Ohio State, both of them are going to be in no matter what, but I do want to see Indiana go out and play a full game. And I'd like to see Ohio State get pressed. Duke, Virginia, honestly. I live in Charlotte. I could have been credentialed for this game. I just, why? My kid has Christmas brunch tomorrow, which I still don't even know what that is. And we're supposed to take our family Christmas pictures tomorrow. So I'm not going to that.
I think you're making the right call.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No one's disagreeing with you there.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about Indiana and Ohio State, but not really talking about it. But you know the way Indiana has gotten thrashed when they've seen this level of competition, how does this not go that way again?
I think they've got a little more experience with it, right? Like that's the thing for me. I think they've got this isn't last year. Let me hang on. Let me make sure I get it right. Notre Dame smoked them, right? Notre Dame won by 10.
It was
Ohio, because it didn't feel closer in the game. And then same thing with the Ohio State game 2 weeks before the end of a week before the Purdue game. So I just think they've gotten more experience with these type of games and they know who they are. And I don't think they walk in with any sort of I don't think they're worried or scared. I think now it's less about can we do it? It's a lot. There's a huge difference between can we do it and will we do it? And then the next step, the first step was can we? The next step is will. But I think they're at the step of we can do it. And I think that's important. I think they've made a massive change. They have the best quarterback in the country. If you have the best quarterback in the country, the Heisman front runner, you have a defense that I don't think enough people give them credit for that part of this football team. And then you have a head coach who obviously is committed to you, committed to your players, unlike he who shall not be mentioned, committed to his players, understands that this is a place that will appreciate any good I can give them. They will appreciate it. Any good I can give them. So if they win a first round game, awesome. But getting here, I mean, when's the last time we talked about it? Like you mentioned Tom Allen, but realistically, what are we talking about? Like Antoine Randall L?
Yeah.
Look, see, blast from the past, huh?
Carved up my Michigan boys a couple times. Yeah. I got PTSD. Thank you for that, Felder.
I do have to tell you, Felder, that when you refer to Fernando Mendoza as the best quarterback in the country, we are based out of Nashville.
I know.
I know. If I don't push back on this, somebody will give me hell later because Diego Pavia does exist. So,
can they run 1-2? Can they run 1-2? Can we go? No, I'm saying not in a competition way. You know what? Can we go 1A, 1B?
You're getting a little closer. I don't know if his brother. I don't know if his brothers will go for that, but we might be okay with that.
Listen, I'm not asking questions about any of this to his brothers. I tell you what, they're like Jokic, the Jokic bros out there.
100%. That's who we're really kind of protecting ourselves from by saying some of that. So
all I'm saying is that I think Mendoza. Listen, I believe that Diego should be in New York City 100%. I think Mendoza's going to win, but I think I think Pavia is going to be number 2, and then Sayan will end up number 3, and then our guy Love, if he gets invited, he should be number 4. Love, the running back from Notre Dame.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, can a running back get any love? No pun intended. In the Heisman race anymore.
No, what? No. Unless every quarterback is bad. See the year that Mark Ingram won. See the year that Derrick Henry won. See the year that Devontae Smith won. No, they can't. They can't get any love. It doesn't happen. There's no love for these guys. Like, there's no love for running backs, wide receivers. Don't even get me started on defensive players.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on those guys.
You're
crazy.
Telling me
you can't be the best. You're telling me what the voters are telling me is you can't be the most outstanding player in college football and play defense
unless you're a quarterback.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, the NFL has devalued running backs for so long that you had to know that it was going to trickle down at some point to some degree. And so I guess that's kind of where we've gotten to with the Heisman as it relates to running backs. It's wild. It's quarterbacks and everybody else.
Wait, real quick, while we're talking Big Ten title game, Felder, yes or no question. Do you currently think Ohio State is the best team in the country? And that'll predicate my next question.
Oh man, that's a rough one. No.
Okay, no. So you don't have them as like this 1A juggernaut, one of one juggernaut, correct?
No.
Because I'm curious, I think it was Spencer Hall posed this question earlier this week of if Indiana somehow does win this game, it felt like it's been OSU and everybody else all season long. I'm just curious, this feels like a total paradigm shift. Suddenly, the week before the playoffs begins, all of a sudden it's like, hey, we knocked the big bad bully out in the yard, and now all of a sudden anybody can win this thing. Is the way I'm kind of thinking about it. If that were to happen,
here's what I'm gonna say: if you had to look at the teams that we expect to be in the playoff, right? What team do you want to play the least?
For me, it's Ohio State just because of the defense alone.
It's Ohio State. Okay.
I mean, and I'm a Big Ten homer to an extent, but man, they've only given up 16 points. The most. I think Indiana will probably score more than 16, but that's the most they've given up all season long. And I know the schedule has not been great.
You think Ohio State would be excited to play Georgia?
They would not be excited, but I think that OSU would win.
That's all I'm asking. I think excited to play them.
I don't think Ohio State is internally, above and beyond overlooking anybody at this point. It's some weird juju happened with that Michigan loss last year, and they've just been on this systematic death march. Now, will they go, and anything can happen, but that's why I asked you that first question, because if you do value them as the best team, I'm fascinated by, man, it feels like right before this thing starts, all of a sudden all hell could possibly break loose because the team that we thought was the clear-cut number one is now suddenly not, essentially, right?
I would rather if I'm looking at, hang on, I got the rankings right here. If I'm looking at the rankings and I'm any team right now that's sitting in the top 12, right? Like, let's say I'm Notre Dame and I had to make a list of the teams I don't want to play. That list starts with Georgia. Then I'd probably go Oregon, then Ohio State, A&M, Alabama. Then I'd throw probably Texas Tech because I don't know what Joey McGuire's going to do. And then I'd throw in Oklahoma. But, that's the way that I'm looking at it, because I don't think anybody you remember when you were a kid and every now and then your mom tried to get you to like Brussels sprouts?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, nobody wanted Georgia on their plate.
I agree with that. And I'm also I agree with that, and that deeply resonates with me down in my core. And I've warmed up to them over the years, but I'm still not there all the way unless they're prepared a certain way. I'll give you that much.
Sure. They got to be crispy. They got to have some ham, or they got to have some bacon.
Yeah. Now we can maybe think about eating more than a couple at a time.
Right. But these are boiled Brussels sprouts.
They got to be crispy. Good Lord.
Yeah, these are soggy and they stink, and you got it. That Georgia is soggy and they stink, and your whole house will smell like Georgia after the game, and you're not gonna like it.
Nobody wants any of that. That's amazing. Michael Felder of Learfield Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Michael, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time. Enjoy Christmas brunch and your pictures tomorrow.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, I'm not going to enjoy the pictures, but I'm going to look nice and smile and make sure that my family has a good Thanksgiving.
There you
Or
go,
Christmas.
man.
I just said Thanksgiving.
That's okay.
We'll
got
edit
you.
that out. We got you,
Hey,
bro.
No,
have a
leave
good
it
one,
in
man.
there. That's
All right.
Thanksgiving, superior holiday.
See ya. Let's, Mark, roll into our final segment, as it is the Wonder Slate. Wade and I will give you our 10 weekend winners. Do with them what you will. Wade, the floor is yours.
Quick update though, 9 games. I didn't want to dip in. We're not ready for Division II FCS
okay.
level just quite yet. You know, I didn't want to risk incarnate word on any of our viewers by any stretch. So we got 9, but we got a spry 9, and Felder went through a couple of them. We got 4 games tonight. All of them, as I mentioned at the top of the show, are on respective campus locations, so should be fun. Our first game is Troy at number 25, James Madison. The Dukes are favored by 23.5 in the Sun Belt Championship, 6 p.m. on ESPN tonight.
23.5 is a big number, man. I mean, even at home. I'm going to go with the spunky Trojans in this one.
I like the pick. I respect the pick. I got to go James Madison. Man, that is a massive number. But I'm picking James Madison for this reason, Mo. Bob Chesney's going to coach the game, and I think internally he's looking around that locker room and's like, hey, you know, if you go out and have a good game, we have a good playoff run, a lot of you guys would look good in UCLA, and I know you'd like to be out in Pasadena rather than Harrisonburg, Virginia. No disrespect to my good friends at JMU. But yeah, give me JMU. I think they'll try and run it up for style points as well. But Troy is a good football team. But I think JMU gets the number tonight. Second game, near and dear to our hearts as Middle Boys. It's a 6 p.m. showdown in the CUSA Championship on CBS Sports Network. Kennesaw State. Yeah, Kennesaw State is a 2.5-point favorite at Jacksonville State.
That's crazy to me. I mean, Kennesaw State, obviously they went through a coaching change last year. Actually, both of these teams did. But Jacksonville State went through a coaching change because their coach went to West Virginia. Kennesaw State because they were awful. And so for the Owls to be a 2.5-point favorite on the road in this one really kind of blows my mind. I'm going with Jack State, and it hurts to say so.
Man, this is eerie because everything you just said, I sympathize and I agree with to an extent, but this is a classic Vegas is trying to tell us something game. They just played this same game like 3 weeks ago, and Jack State won by 7 or 8 points. But Kennesaw State, now you're telling me, is favored. This may bite me, but Vegas is trying to tell me something. And I'm a sucker, so I'm going KSU. And I don't get to say I'm taking the Owls very often on this show. So I'm taking the Owls in this one. Up next, American Championship. It begins at 7 p.m. on ABC. You got 2 ranked teams tonight, Mo. Number 24, North Texas. Those Mean Green are favored by 2.5 down in New Orleans at number 20, Tulane.
You know, I think the Wave and you're sporting the T-shirt. I think they get it done for Summerall right here. I'm taking Tulane in this one.
You know, I'm going Lee Corso mode, Mo, because I got to go wrestling heel. I'm wearing the shirt. I'm rooting for Tulane. I think North Texas wins this game tonight. They've put up like 60 points a game at multiple instances.
Hey, that
this
quarterback
season.
is no joke.
Yeah, he is a real deal. This will be one of the. I'm going to maybe declare a soft declare if I can do such a thing. This will be the most entertaining game of the entire championship weekend, just actual games themselves, not drama that follows after. But I'm taking North Texas. I hope it's a good game, and I'll be rooting, like I said, for my Green Wave, but give me North Texas in this one. Final game tonight. They had a 4-way tie in the Mountain West Championship, and they used the computers to determine who would be the 2 participants. And we got UNLV at Boise State on the Smurf turf tonight, Mo. Boise State is favored by 4.5.
You know, we have a mutual friend whose son will be putting on the red and white in this one. Bryce Edmondson, who played his high school ball over at Innsworth, will be on the field for the Rebels and Dan Mullen. But the Smurf turf, rarely do those guys lose on it. Give me Boise.
Yeah, taking Boise State as well. And UNLV, again, like the CUSA matchup. They played this game in mid-October, and Boise won 56-31. I think Dan Mullen will have his guys ready to play tonight, but I don't know if that's going to be good enough. And I'm looking at this high school football game. It'll be bad news for the Rebels out in Chattanooga. It'll be bad news for the Rebels tonight. Give me Boise State to cover that one at 4.5. Moving on to Saturday, we crank things up at 11 a.m. on ABC for the Big 12 championship. Number 11, BYU, trying to keep its playoff hopes alive versus Texas Tech. The line, Mo, is 12.5 for the Red Raiders.
And the Red Raiders have been taking no prisoners over the course of this season, and I just don't know that tomorrow is any different for them. Give me Texas Tech.
Yep, I'm taking Tech as well. BYU, it's been a fun ride, and they've won a few games they're not supposed to win, probably because they ran into some teams that are not, really about their business. Texas Tech is about their business, and they're out for blood. And as cool as it would be, not talking about some of these bubble teams here, as cool as it would be to maybe see BYU continue a Cinderella run, I don't think they do it. I like Texas Tech, even though it is a hefty number.
That is a hefty number.
Yeah,
You're
hefty number in this rematch. Up next, the game that we referenced earlier. Man, you can't tell me you can have a better time than when you tune in at 11 a.m. on ESPN for the MAC championship. Miami, Ohio versus Western Michigan. The line is Western by 1.5.
I'm still feeling like this should have been a midweek game for the MAC.
How is it not?
I don't know how it's not. But that said, I'm about like Felder. I don't have a great feel for the MAC, obviously, but I'm going to go with Western Michigan. They're playing a little bit closer to home, I think, and we'll just say that'll be the difference.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got nothing on either one of these teams. I usually at least take a peek at some action throughout the course of the season. I don't really do so. Worth pointing out, though, Miami, Ohio won the regular season meeting in Oxford 26-17. So do with that what you will. But Mo and I are both taking the Broncos in this one. Up next, 3 o'clock ABC. Don't really have to say much more. You already know where it is. You already know who's playing every single year. It's Georgia and Alabama, and Georgia is favored by 2.5 in this top 10 showdown.
Felder's conspiracy theory notwithstanding, I like Georgia in this ball game. And if Alabama wins it, you got to wonder if there wasn't a check placed somewhere. But give me the Bulldogs in this one.
Something is still up with Kirby Smart. Nick Saban has been gone for, quite some time now, but man, he still struggles. 1-7 versus his former team. I think Bama finds a way to get this done. And man, just a couple weeks ago, Kalen DeBoer's bags were packed. Maybe he's going to Happy Valley, and maybe he sticks around. I think Alabama wins this game. And, I don't know if they win it all going forward, but they're going to be a scary team, I think, going into the playoffs. So give me Alabama to cover and win the game. Up next, the number 1 versus number 2 game that nobody gives a flip about, seemingly. Ohio State -4 versus Indiana. This is the Big Ten championship game, 7 p.m. on Fox.
I like everything that Felder had to say about Indiana. I'm still not sure that they're there. Give me the Buckeyes, much as it pains me.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of like Rocky, right? I mean, he bleeds like I bleed. I think Indiana can maybe throw a haymaker and maybe even draw a little bit of blood versus Ohio State. But until I see somebody really run up against them and test them, there ain't no way. I'm out of the business of picking against them because they look legit. So I'm taking the 4, and maybe it'll be a good game. It's very rare we see 1 and 2 again. Not much buzz about it, but both teams will certainly be playoff contenders. Finally, we close. How else could we close? The ACC Championship in Felder's backyard, 7 p.m. on ABC. Number 17, Virginia, can do the world a favor by knocking Duke out of the, shall we even say, playoff hypotheticals there. But they're favored by 4 in this game, Mo. Do they cover?
I don't think they do cover. I'm kind of taking on the Chaos Master type title here. I like the Blue Devils here, and chaos would ensue if they pull this off. Give me Duke.
Give me Virginia. I'm with you. I love the chaos too, but I don't think it happens. I'll take Virginia at the 4, and maybe Duke wins. Maybe we do have some chaos. We'll look forward to it.
There we go. That is your Wonder Slate. This is the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Join me and Wade Monday at 2 o'clock. Y'all have a great weekend.